motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
We're back. All right, everybody. Woo! It's one fucking hour time. That's right, the show where we normally talk about one movie. We have just one fucking hour to do it. One fucking movie after another is what we should call tonight's episode.
That's good.
Yes. All right. I didn't even that wasn't even pre-canned.
That was smart.
Yeah.
Just riffing.
Yeah, just riffing off the mic here, the live mic. All right, everybody. I'm Evan Husney. Welcome back to the show. It's been a minute. It's been a month almost since we've done a episode. But of course, we had the holidays. You know, we always kind of go dark around this time period anyway. So now we're just kind of emerging from the hibernation of the time off, the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. But who do we got? To my left, we got, of course, Miss Rémy Bennett. Rémy, welcome back to the show.
Good evening.
Yes, yes, yes. And as always, to my right, we got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus?
Hey, don't mess with me tonight, Evan. I was born in 1901. I'm a vampire.
You brought up the vampire.
Yes, exactly. Wow, that's a good line. All right. Well, that's a little teaser of what we're going to be doing tonight because we didn't really announce what we're doing. We hadn't figured it out. But, we sort of teased that the idea was like, 2025 was an interesting year in film. I don't often say this about movies now these days. There's always a few interesting films every year to talk about, definitely. I'm not saying everything sucks now. But this year especially seemed like there was a crop of really interesting films, guilty pleasures, documentaries. There's some even interesting stinkers we might get into. But it's just been a wild and crazy year for film. I don't know. For me, I've just been kind of surprised by a lot. And
There's kind of some like strong films.
Strong films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like things motivating me to actually go to the theater a lot over the past decade. But
Yeah.
I found myself in the theater more times this year than like
Exactly.
in the past 5 years combined probably.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's rare.
And it's also rare for us to talk about new movies here on this channel. So I sort of thought that this might be an interesting opportunity for us now that we're, right into the new year. Let's take a look back at 2025, right as we're ahead of Rémy. We're ahead of award season. Tomorrow, as we're recording this, the Golden Globes are tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Strap in.
Yes.
Appointment viewing here in our household.
Boy.
But
Yes. Very excited.
But yeah, so this is a perfect time, more now than any other, to talk about the movies of 2025. So that's what we're doing, guys. It's one fucking hour on the flicks of 2025. Just interesting observations, what we liked. This isn't a list or a ranking or whatever. This is just
not everything either.
It's not everything. This is just chewing on some of the interesting films of the year. And we want to give a shout out to, for better, for worse, or for whatever. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Also, I wanted to tease, guys, that we have a very interesting conceptual one fucking year ahead of us here for 2026. So at the end of this episode, once the clock is over, we're going to get into what we're doing for the rest of the year on the show. That's a big deal. We're doing a whole year-long program. So we're going to tell you what we're doing for the rest of the year. So if you want to sketch out and know exactly what's in store for you for this upcoming year.
I know what you're doing for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
You know what I'm doing. It's a huge fucking commitment. Big undertaking, but we have an interesting one fucking hour project ahead of us here for 2026, and we want to tell you all about it. So that's going to be on the other side of the hour. But before we get into the hour, I want to give a quick shout out to the one fucking hour Patreon. Yeah. Patreon.com/onefuckinghour is where you can sign up for just $5 a month. It's the best way to support the show. It's also the best way to support Big T, Tom Fitzgerald, our one fucking hour homie. As we've announced, of course, a few months back, Tom had a medical emergency. He's sort of on medical leave. Not sort of, he is on medical leave for the show. And with that, you can imagine there's expense attached to that. So here we are trying to support our guy. So 100% of the Patreon funds will be going directly to Tom. So you can, if you want to support Tom, that's the best way to do so. Also, if you want to support Tom but keep all your bonus content, which is all up available on the Patreon, on YouTube, you can scroll underneath this video, find the join button, click that, join this channel, become a moment of the YouTube channel, same price, same benefits, and supports Big T all the same. And we really appreciate it. Thank you all again for your support on Big T, signing up for the Patreon, keeping those memberships consistent. We promised you a bonus episode. Guys, we got to get to it. We're overdue. We know that.
Yes.
And that's a top priority here for us coming into the new year. So bonus episode incoming shortly. So just want to let everybody know that. But all right, yeah, patreon.com/onefucking-hour. Thank you, everybody. All right. I think it's time we should just get right into it. Y'all ready for this?
I think so.
Oh, wait a minute. We didn't even talk about... sorry, I have to address the fact that... Where is it? I have to address the fact of we're coming hot off of the heels of a very controversial episode that we did. A episode that by many that they might say is... because I was not expecting our most controversial episode to date being our Guilty Pleasures episode.
Yeah.
Some were not happy to find out that some of us considered Almost Famous a guilty pleasure.
Shawshank Redemption.
People did not like any shade thrown towards Shawshank Redemption. No.
Are you saying they were upset that you liked it, or upset that you
he even
that you feel guilty
included
about
that?
it?
Yeah, exactly.
They're upset. Yeah, I like these movies, guys, but they're upset that one could feel guilty about liking any of these. We haven't really received many hate mail or angry comments, but boy, they were aplenty on the Guilty Pleasures episode. So. That's interesting. I didn't know. I guess maybe we were looking for trouble. I don't know, but
I did appreciate some other people's throwing in their guilty. That was nice. I appreciate that.
I was so jelly of some of the people. There was some really good ones. Somebody
Wonder
said,
Boys was amazing. I would have.
That's a great suggestion. Somebody in the comments mentioned, and I was really jealous about it. What was it? The Watchmen. I would have put on my list for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, The Watchmen.
After the episode, I went and watched Castaway again.
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, and that would have made my list.
Yeah.
Except for we used it as the example one on the previous episode of something you feel guilty about. Like,
so you can't crit.
It was hard to get out of that mindset, honestly. I kept on wanting to go back and
I
figure
know.
out.
You were really...
I was stuck on it.
Yeah, you were stuck.
On Christmas, we watched some like John Grisham 90s, like A Time to Kill. Kind of like 90s thrillers, courthouse thrillers, and those I was like, those are good. Guilty pleasures.
In hindsight, I think people were really upset because it really showed like with a black light. At least maybe for me, like my snobbery was like, holy shit.
Right.
And I think people were really not into that. So, okay.
It was a little too holier than thou.
It was. To be above Almost Famous was
one step
a step too far for most. Which, hey, I totally get it. And hey, it's just, it's a very personal thing. And you know what? People took it personally, and that's good. You should, because this is very personal what we're talking about.
It's a debate.
So, but very funny, and thank you all for the comments, and I hope you all appreciate the episode. We had a lot of fun doing it, and to the Shawshank fans, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So should we get
Don't
into
be
it?
mad at us for our 2025 breakdown now.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. We hated them all. Yeah. Okay. Just kidding. All right. Here we go. One thing I wanted to make sure as we're going into this episode, I just had this kind of thought is that I think we're going to give the clock a break for tonight because I don't know how we're going to do all this with the pressure of the 1 hour clock when we're talking about, several films from last year. So I don't want us to feel rushed. So we're going to let the clock chill for tonight, give you guys kind of a 2 hour-ish New Year's special. I also want to say that this is going to be very spoiler heavy. So be prepared for that. If you have not seen any of these movies, maybe you don't want to listen to this because we're going to spoil them all. I guess I don't really have a start the clock thing here, but I guess we'll just go with, at the start of the pistol, we'll go for this. So strap in, everybody. We're going there. 2025. All right. There's no synopsis to read for this one, so we're just going to get right into it. But I thought, Rémy, I know you wanted to start here. Let's just get right into it. Big picture thoughts of movies in 2025? Like, what was your sort of observations?
Yeah, my biggest one was that I really felt like 3 movies, BUGONIA, One Battle After Another, and Eddington, were 3 separate really interesting examples of individual pieces of art that were surrealistic, sort of hyper-real depictions or reflections of the time in which we're living in.
Yes.
Which kind of could be like the past decade from, 2015, 16 to now. And I really haven't seen that yet. And so I thought it was cool to see these different depictions of that.
It's true, or at least like in the mainstream or in the zeitgeist, because it's like, and that was what was really interesting. It's like we're now in a time where filmmakers are starting to more so I think than they have, at least and I know docs have always existed, like looking at current issues and current times and things like that. But in the sort of narrative capacity, this feels like one of the most self-reflexive, times in narrative features. It's really interesting.
In a very non-literal way. I think that's what I found interesting.
Or scripted, rather. Yeah.
It was almost like a phantasmagorical depiction of what's happening in culture. So it wasn't this kind of like literal
one-to-one.
It was
like a January 6th film or something.
Right.
Which
came later. They did those, like the Civil War movie that came out last year or something. Like where it was like it felt like it was behind already. Like I particularly was surprised by One Battle After Another, feeling like how quickly it seemed to address the times.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just coincidence or what, but I do think that like movies should be doing that these days, because we are living this world where like the podcasts that we're watching are digesting the moment like as it's happening,
Right.
So
right.
it's nice that filmmakers are kind of like speeding up their analysis and reflecting the times more directly in a quicker way than waiting 5 years to talk about it or whatever.
Or just using it as a source of inspiration.
Right.
I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, films in the modern era, have been dominated by the blockbusters and the Marvel movies and of course all that stuff. But, it is just really interesting that, a lot of movies have existed for like escapism purposes, if you will, or they're just, personal films or whatever. But these really feel like, okay, now we can't escape this fractured reality that we all live in, and we're gonna make films that are sort of commenting on that or evident of that, and in a very interesting ways too.
Right.
Not just
very cinematic, very hyper real, larger than life, in a very creative, almost like Brechtian way. How you're taking something, but it's a very artistic stamp and interpretation. So so we'll talk more about that stuff later on, but yeah.
Also, just the number of movies that we're going to talk about that we enjoyed or we like to see, that felt like a breath of fresh air. It seems like the rule of thumb over the past like 20 years or something has been like TV is better than movie. It's sort of like 8 movies lunch, because we're all kind of used to seeing the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies are the only movies that come out in theaters, existing big franchise movies for nerds or whatever, right? So, but then the sort of mid-range budget movies for adults just disappeared and became prestige television, or whatever, But now it's like there's not even that like a really, I don't know. I didn't see a big tentpole TV series in 2025, but then I saw this trend of all these like mid-range budget movies for adults pop up.
Which is very most like Miramax 90s, which I love.
It's true. That's kind of coming back in a way, or it feels like it is, because obviously, the bottom fell out on that industry, 15 years ago, where, that middle tier budget you were talking about film just doesn't exist anymore. That's homogenizing more towards a general audience, big blockbuster, star driven or just IP driven film. And lots of fresh films, it feels like, this year. And that's very interesting. I think it should be something that if you're not paying as much attention to, maybe this is a time to start paying attention more to it. I mean, I am now certainly more plugged in than I've ever been. So, in
like
terms
you said
of
I think maybe movies are back.
Maybe. We'll see.
And like taking risks. Like they felt like these movies were going out on a limb. They were taking big creative swings. They really, they were making,
it's true.
an aesthetic point of view.
Well, Can we start with one? Are we ready to get into the first one?
Yeah.
I think,
Sorry.
for all the longtime listeners here who know our sort of...
I'm laughing already.
Our sort of checkered past with... wait, where is it? Oh, yeah.
The worm eaters?
No. God, the worm eaters. No, our sort of checkered past with...
You were going to give me that cherry pie, sweet mama, baby.
with Paul Thomas Anderson, let's start with One Battle After Another, because I'm sure people are very curious just to hear our thoughts on it. And I do want to start there. And I'm going to start kind of chronological with my just how I was exposed to this movie. Okay, so if you don't know, Paul Thomas Anderson, for me personally, I think I can speak for you, Marcus, just because, and Rémy, we're sort of on the same wavelength, I think, here with this. But, we love Boogie Nights, okay? We've always loved Boogie Nights. And, for me, many of his other films have not been for me, if I'm being kind. You could look in the archives. Our Magnolia episode kind of spells out. Kind of amazing, actually, that three people feel the same way about Magnolia on one podcast, because that does not happen.
Pretty controversial.
That's a pretty controversial, take. But it's true. Not a fan. Punch Drunk Love is not for me.
That's come up on the show before.
That has also come up on the show. Little tiny blue piano and a tiny, it's just not for me. What's the other ones?
I like The Master.
The Master, There'll Be Blood. There's some stuff. There's, it's cool. Phantom Thread, sure, whatever, sure, man. But then it's like his last two movies before One Battle After Another were nails on a chalkboard for me. Okay. Inherent Vice is incomprehensible, impenetrable noise. To me, it's like someone just putting white noise and static and turning it up. Like it's one of the most abrasive film experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It
also just feels like a bad SNL skit that goes on for 20 hours.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. And also Licorice Pizza, his last film, felt like that to me as well, where I just given up on him after those two films. It was just like, these are not for me. I don't get what he's doing. I feel like I'm kind of trapped in his mind, being forced to sort of like examine all the things that he finds really humorous and exciting and interesting. And it's just not, I can't get there with him on that. And the humor's bad and nothing's landing for me, So that's kind
Licorice Pizza just felt very mediocre to me. Didn't live up to, he's obviously super talented.
That's where this all comes from. It comes from a place of love, of loving his early work and wanting, and like, where's that guy, And
it's not like everyone, is expected to make, 50 masterpieces. That's not. But when you do respect and appreciate someone's perspective, you're happy when you're pleasantly surprised when you see something like that.
So I just want to, just for context, that's where my head was at.
He's been sort of selected as like one of the big directors of that generation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure too.
Totally.
Completely.
So, so the trailer for this movie comes out, and I have to be honest, for One Battle After Another, I have to be honest, we were in the movie theater watching something else, and this trailer for this movie came on, and I had no idea what it was. I had never heard of it. And to me, it sort of looked like a Steven Soderbergh ensemble cast, like espionage film, almost like a snapper.
We were like hysterically laughing at the trailer.
Well, the trailer just seemed like, first off, some like just kind of big, like some ensemble, pseudo prestige film,
heist type thing.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
And the trailer was just bad.
And like Leo with the man bun with like a gun. I thought it was like very serious.
Yeah, and it was really just, the trailer was off. It was really bad. There was also like a kind of like really weird toned, like they were going for a laugh to try and like almost pander, where like the daughter character is like, no, Dad, it's they, them. It's not that hard to understand, Right.
Yeah, it was like a boomer, they, them.
Oh, I know. It was like a boomer. It was like a Bill. It was like a Bill,
Bill Maher humor.
It was like a Bill Maher moment. Where is he? It's a Bill Maher moment. And so I was like, what is this? And then it says directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And I literally, my jaw hit the floor because I was like, what has happened? Is he has he given up? He's like, these last two kind of like, oddly shaped films didn't work, so I'm just going to go the Soderbergh route and do this kind of heist film or something. That's what I thought, And I was like, what is this? So you have to understand, I saw One Battle After Another, the movie, a few months later. We saw it an opening weekend, okay? And the only thing that took us there to go see it was morbid curiosity based on that trailer in part, and also the fact that I'd heard rumblings that it was good.
But we didn't read much. There wasn't.
But that could mean anything because everyone always loves his movies no matter what. So I just wanted to say that my expectations couldn't have been lower and couldn't have been just like, okay, like whatever this is, I don't care anymore. But obviously, it turned out to be one of the better films I've seen in 10 years. I don't know. It's crazy. Like I watched this movie and I'm like kind of falling in love with, again, the stuff that I liked about Paul Thomas Anderson from Boogie Nights. Like for me, like just full stop, it's his best movie since Boogie Nights and it's not even close. And I just, around every corner, I was just so enthralled by the elegance of the filmmaking, how taut it was. Because a lot of these other films, the Inherent Vice and the Licorice Pizza, are these soupy messes that you get stuck in and you can't get out of the scene, or and you're just these vignette movies. And this just felt so like dialed in and like calibrated and well thought out, inspired from so many great inspired ideas. And it just felt like, and you can tell that this was something that he had worked on for a very long time, and that he himself maybe had found that spark of inspiration again, that a young filmmaker would have. It
was very like alive,
very alive.
It felt like that Boogie Nights energy.
Yeah.
The actors are very alive and the spark is back.
You meet up. I think after you saw it, you texted me, and I had no idea either.
I was shocked,
and you were like, "Okay, you're not going to believe this, but Paul Thomas Anderson made the best movie of the year."
I know, or maybe,
and you got to go see it. And I was like, "Okay,
yeah, I know."
Okay, People are like late at night, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, I went to go see it. I think 1 or 2 days later, and I loved it too. I saw it by myself.
Yeah,
and I was really, I loved the relationship, like the parent story, in there. It's great. I felt like it had enough it was like a cross-generational film. Like it had enough for a younger generation to appreciate, and for, the old timers, and just the performances were great. I usually have a problem with the music on his soundtracks, but I loved the music in this.
All that.
Ready or Not. Here I come. Yeah.
And the Steely Dan and Tom Petty and
and even there's a song at the very end when she's like reading the letter, and it's like a very good, like kind of emotional song. It's like I forget who did the music. It's not the Radiohead guy, it's the other guy that composed.
Johnny Greenwood. Johnny Greenwood.
But it's not a Johnny Greenwood song. It's like a different guy contributed a couple songs.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
gotcha.
The music was good, great, and I thought it was awesome.
Well, it almost had that feel of like, what Scorsese does in Casino or something, like it, in terms of the music and the energy and the cinematography. Like it had that jolt where you were just taken on that beautiful like roller coaster, and it was like injected with just all of this like incredible energy. Yeah,
like just as somebody who's felt frustrated in his last two films, I felt like, I don't know, maybe selfishly wasn't catered to as an audience member, or like wasn't entertained or anything, and this film felt like it was directly speaking to me and directly engaging me in this way that I haven't experienced in a movie theater in a very long time. Like No Country for Old Men comes to mind, or like, something where it's just so purely cinematic, but also like just okay, at the end of the day, this movie, One Battle After Another, is just, its story structure is just a really smart conceit for an action plot. That's really what it is. I mean, I think it's a great idea. This idea of these sort of like lapsed revolutionaries that get kind of woken up 15 years later, but they kind of inspired concept on that is why is this being reactivated where these people are being hunted down? Oh, it's because Sean Penn, who plays one of the most fucking insane on-screen characters I've ever seen in my entire life, is going to hunt these people down just to destroy the evidence that he's had a intergender,
interracial.
That he's had an interracial child relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
I said intergender because that gets used a lot in wrestling. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, it's like, and that's just, so we can break into the secret society of, white supremacist Christmas. What is it? Fucking
Christmas adventurers.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
What a great concept for a action chase film, and that was very inspired. So I loved that. And of course the humor was very sophisticated. At least to me, it felt that way. And
it was a satire, and I think that's the number one thing.
That's the number one thing, which is an underutilized, I feel like, type of humor nowadays. And what I really also appreciated is when I left the theater, I was thinking two things. One was the first movie that came to mind to compare it to was Dr. Strangelove. I can't speak. Dr. Strangelove came to mind because, obviously it's politically minded, but it has this absurdist sort of satirical sort of edge to the whole thing, and hyper real, right? Rémy, going to your sort of
exactly.
Lockjaw being someone's name.
Yeah, exactly. Each name had this sort of almost like cartoonish, absurdist meaning behind it.
And I loved that it was comic booky in that sense, if in a way, where it was just absurdist, and we're not supposed to take this literal. It creates a really warm feeling inside when you're watching it, like, because it's fun, it's action movie, but it's not just cold, precise action,
right.
And,
I hate that
intensity. Like you're like Leo's like performance is like really light, and
there's like a messiness and a warmth to it.
Follies,
like everyone had that feeling, like Benicio del Toro's character, Leo's character, like there's a real human. Vibe there that really like welcomes you into the film,
a soul.
Like that messiness, and I think like because of the looseness on set too, like I think that's going back to the Boogie Nights thing. Sometimes what happens, like you guys talked about with Magnolia, after you did that first one that had that magic to it, you get very over controlled. Even like Fincher down the line, like you watch Seven and there's like this humor to that movie. Obviously, Zodiac is a masterpiece, but sometimes like there's a coldness that can creep in when you're forcing something on an audience and forcing a didactic sort of heaviness. And this felt like all that lightness kind of.
It was all the lightness, but everybody on that set knew exactly what they were doing, and they were contributing. They just all dialed into the vibe and the tone of this movie. Whereas Magnolia, I think everyone was standing around being like, "What are we supposed to do? And why is this script so long?" And I'm not just that's in the behind the scenes doc. You can go watch that for yourself. And so I think that's evidence of just like we locked into a great.
Also, the freedom. There was freedom. You could see that with the actors. Where with Magnolia, there wasn't. You didn't see that freedom. It was very much like. The force.
I like this. This was a small. It felt like a small movie. With a small ensemble cast. It feels like they did a lot with a small budget. It feels, in a way. I don't know what the budget was, honestly, but it feels like they did a lot with a little.
That's right. They did a small movie approach to a bigger film.
And they were using
it's like an action movie for people that don't normally like action movies.
Exactly.
It's like a smart action movie for people that aren't going to see like the Bourne movies. Or whatever.
Oh my god! But the techniques too that they were using, where when they were filming in the location that was kind of like an El Paso.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Sort of location like that. They were using all real hospital workers and army people and nurses and people that worked in the shops, and like the fact that they were using that kind of verite style is so incredible. Like you have a mixture of that beautiful film, but then you're going into a store and all the people are real people, and that texture, it's really incredible that
real locations having like a plot element. I think they shot that part out in Anza Borrego. I think I've been on that road with the big.
I got to talk about that too, because that's just really quickly. That's another amazing thing. It's just like how that was dropped in. Like Rémy, you mentioned
hilly
it.
Road.
The hilly chase sequence. Rémy, you mentioned this when we were talking about it, how it's like, Alfred Hitchcock, like every Hitchcock movie would come, along in the 50s or whatever. And you had to kind of see how he would, concoct some interesting, almost surreal way to approach like an action scene of some kind. Like he had some weird take on how he was going to, conceptualize it visually. And it feels like this, it feels like a video art piece dropped into the middle of this movie. And I just loved that. It worked so well for me just to have that. And it's just an extra, it was amazing just to watch because it was like kind of like psychedelic in a way, like desert psychedelic chase scene,
Yeah. And I mean, the Thomas Pynchon thing too, it's like, I think the mistake is to try to take this movie literally. And a few of like the criticisms that I've heard or listened to, I was listening to the film comment podcast. And everyone was getting so mad. He's like, stop listening to this. But it was just interesting because a lot of the criticism was like, the French 75, what the hell is that? Like, it's so unrealistic. If it was a black revolutionary group, they would never do that. And what era is this in? It doesn't make sense.
I'm so mad by that.
It's like the concept is that it is a social satire that is not supposed to be in reality. Everything is magnified. Everything is absurd. I mean, it's like a Vonnegut.
It's like looking at Alphaville and being like, "What's this future?"
It was,
because I think he was taking all of these different elements. Like he was taking, there was a little bit of Godard. There was a little bit of, the Pynchon. It was like a Kurt Vonnegut book. And I had recently read a book, Mumbo Jumbo by Ishmael Reed, which brings in a lot of these ideas. And it's kind of like black, Afrofuturism, and then there's like a white supremacy group that's hunting them down. And there was an era, especially in the 70s, where literature used that kind of,
or film too, like a Terry Southern novel. And
totally.
Movie or
you were listening to this painfully insane podcast with like New York egghead film people trying to point out all the things that weren't realistic in this movie, and I just it's the most infuriating thing
because they're heightened versions of each it's sort of like a play on our perceptions of what these things are. It's like we're taking it to the extreme.
It is more like theater in a way, like that, but using all of the language of film, but like the sort of the reality of theater, but set to like the visual language.
And sometimes that's the only way we can talk about a time like this. Like another podcast I was listening to was the New Yorker podcast. Sorry. But they were talking about, like, this is your worst nightmare, but they were talking about the term, like Philip Roth's term, like American Berserk.
Yes.
And they also were saying how this year was like the film of like the broken mirror.
Yes.
And like, how do you...
Okay, I like that.
How do you reflect the American Berserk? When American reality has gotten so through the looking glass, like what kind of art comes out of that? And we are seeing almost very theatrical, like in the way that like Bertolt Brecht would make plays.
Sure.
In the 1930s, like it's larger than life depictions, and that's an interesting way to to pick this.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it just goes back to with Dr. Strangelove and thinking about that. It is the absurdity, or just the sort of the absurdist approach in making this movie that I think what makes it so just unique and fresh. And for people that can't see that, I'm just shocked. But the second thing I thought, and we should move on, if that's okay. But the second thing I thought leaving the movie, and I'm not just saying this just to make another dig, but I just there's a natural rivalry with PTA and QT, I feel like, in the world. With Quentin Tarantino. And I'm not just trying to pile on to Quentin Tarantino right now because he's obviously getting a lot of hate. But after I walked out of One Battle After Another, I was like, man, this makes QT feel dusty as hell. That's literally what I thought. I'm like, dude, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood compared to this, I'm gonna get a lot of heat for that. I'm gonna get a lot of people. I'm sure love that movie. But dude, that movie is
things
not
to like.
It's not calibrated. It's a rough cut. It could lose an hour. It's not tight. It's not taut.
This felt really hip though. Like I felt like it.
He's not that Bruce Lee scene and that ain't hip.
how this was shot, I felt very cool to me. Like the way this was
super
shot.
hip.
Like, and even like the kind of the blaxploitation kind of references and the beginning part of the movie with like the bank and the bank robberies.
Oh yeah.
It felt just really fucking like genuinely cool.
And zippy,
you know?
and like that opening prologue, like you're talking about with like the French 75, I really just appreciated Last Thought is like just how that was constructed. It was at times very elegant, and then it was very montage driven, and sometimes you'd have like disassociated dialogue put over those scenes, kind of like in a Terrence Malick sort of way. So it kind of was even poetic at times, and it was zipping along. Like, I don't know. I was very impressed with
and
this
there was like a
movie.
few Jonathan Demme moments. I feel like he was like lovingly folding into like people that he admires in cinema, and
in a sophisticated way, not a hack way.
Yeah,
that's some
because it was like a Western. But Christmas Adventurers, I just want to say one more.
Oh yes.
I think that was just such a brilliant,
so good,
incredible way of like
So
depicting
good.
this bizarre Christian nationalist shit. Like, you know, you know, I mean, the Bohemian Grove thing of like the secret society, but then like what we've seen with the Heritage Foundation, and you know, there is an organization that's like the 1776 that's a Christian nationalist. This stuff does kind of exist, but it's like it's showing it in, I mean, the little Lacoste thing on the red, you know, preppy sweater that they Hitman, and just the house that they filmed the Christmas Adventures, that was the location of Ronald Reagan's house.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In Sacramento. So that's where him and
love it. All right.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So anyway, that was
okay. Marcus, you good to move on?
Just the performances were all good. Everybody
amazing.
was great.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
but Sean Penn doing like Michael Flynn meets RFK Jr. Like, this is what we need.
Wearing lifts, walking around lifts.
Like that's all you need. You know, he's like the John
Penn.
You know, like the John Eastman QAnon lawyer. Like he's all those people kind of wrapped.
Are those prosthetics, or did he get jacked for the movie?
I don't know. I mean, it was
probably jacked
because knowing him,
jacked, right?
Knowing him, but dude,
and then Leo just was so great too. You know, like
really, of course, yeah. But Sean Penn, though. Come on, that was insane.
Insane.
The
ending when he's cremated and he's in the office building.
What's the guy that did Songs from the Second Floor? You know that filmmaker. It almost became like one of his movies at the end. You know,
right?
It's amazing.
Right.
All right.
That's like another movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
Well, we will, but I do want to get to the other big one because there's another big one everyone talk about, and here's the segue because I feel like it's a tale of two marketing departments. You know where I'm going with this because
are we going to Marty?
We're going to go to Marty because one film had very successful marketing in terms of tapping into the zeitgeist, tapping into the getting young kids to see movies. Sure, obviously you could make an argument that it went over the top, over the board, but One Battle After Another had the worst marketing I've seen for a movie like this in a very long time. So you have a great film, terrible trailer, and they didn't, like, I almost fantasized, I was thinking the other day, like, what if you got the Marty team working on the One Battle After Another, these swapped marketing teams and how different.
Just have Timothy Chalamet do the marketing for One Battle After Another.
Yeah,
just do every movie's marketing.
Man, seriously, like sometimes it can come down to it, man. A movie can live or die because obviously One Battle After Another, it might win Best Picture, of course, but it bombed at the box office, and I feel like it's a movie that anyone who liked Marty would have loved this movie. So anyway,
and
I feel like it did connect with young people though, right? Like One Battle.
I don't know.
Not in the same way, I think, as this, but it didn't do well. It's another
not like Marty did.
Like Marty. Marty's the most successful A24 film of all time, and it's on track to be, especially. And One Battle just didn't do well at all at the box office, but it still might win Best Pick. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But Marty Supreme, let's get into it. Obviously, one of two Safdie projects here that we're going to talk about tonight. But Marty Supreme, highly anticipated movie. For me, I was getting very excited to see it. Again, the Safdie brothers, we've talked about The Curse, shout out to Benny Safdie. We've talked about The Curse on the channel before. We're big fans. We like Uncut Gems. Like other films of theirs more than others, of course, but this one seemed like it was really interesting to see them. I saw the trailer. I wasn't sure. Is this going to be really good? Is it going to be really bad? I had no idea. And of course, as we were getting closer, it seemed like this was going to be a really fucking good time at the movies. And guess what? It was. and I had a great time, you know. And I don't know, Rémy, do you want to take it somewhere with Marty?
Well, I'd say number one, it definitely scratched my Gwyneth Paltrow guilty pleasure itch. So that's enough for me. I was really that actually like sold it for me.
Right, it was Gwyneth.
Like Gwyneth in like the 1950s look of like movies, like kind of cool, distant movie star. I was. You know, but I back to like the
sounds
kind of,
like a Shakespeare in Love fan would say.
yeah.
Oh, but it felt like almost like her talented Mr. Ripley character in a different like time in her life, and and it was nice to see. Yeah, I liked seeing the Josh Safdie do a period piece in that way, and you know, we've seen so much of his work and having that same kind of manic energy, but being very much in the contemporary. So I think like, you know, having that kind of beautiful prestige patina on it with like the Jack Fisk production design and the brilliant cinematographer, and like it was really one of those movies where everything was just like supremely
amazing cast.
It was beautifully put together. Yeah,
that's the thing. You know, it's like just looking at the total package of this movie, and just to sort of commend, you know, the team behind it. I think, especially, you know, in the writing and just putting it together, it's like these guys, the Safdies, Josh, whatever. They understand how to curate a really fun movie-going experience, right? They're very known for that sort of high-octane paced film. Now adding the intensity, adding a sports movie framework to that.
It's very smart.
Yep, sports movies always kind of, you know, have their own added armor to a film.
The formula, you know.
But not being finicky about a period piece either, you know. It's got this like half 80s soundtrack, you know, half like sort of propulsive synth score that they've done on a lot of their films.
Totally, but also curating just like, you know, a very fun, interesting ensemble cast with a lot of very deep cut, weird, specific choices.
Yeah.
You know,
and then just showing them for a moment, but you get a jolt out of seeing like Sandra Bernhard.
Yeah,
like
that was nice to see
quick
her.
shots of her.
Yeah,
like, whoa.
I appreciated that.
Yeah,
we're like, that's the guy. That's the homeless guy that has the golden voice or whatever. Did you catch
I
him?
saw
you know,
that.
like,
I saw that. Yeah, my Jason pointed it out to me, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But,
and Abel Ferrara, obviously,
right?
Which
and
we'll talk about.
They were saying too, like with the casting, they really wanted to cast people where you were bringing their almost like their baggage with them. Like there was very meta casting. Like the Gwyneth, you know, obviously has quit acting for a year. She was coming back, and you know, kind of that very kind of holier than thou, distant movie star, and then.
Kevin O'Leary,
you know, Chalamet with the energy of like, I want greatness, and it was like,
I mean, Chalamet,
he's ascendant in real life.
I mean,
he is kind of playing himself.
Chalamet was playing his Oscar run for the Bob Dylan movie. You know? That was his, you know, audition for this movie. I feel like in a way, you know,
well, because he was rapping. There was an overlap. So when he was doing the award circuit, he was studying for this role. So he was in that mindset. Like when he made that speech that everyone hated, which I was like, oh, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, he was in the Marty character.
He was,
And he was like, I want to be great and I'm going to do great things. And he was in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one other thing too, it's like, you know, Uncut Gems also had that same frenetic pace and just, you know, also let's set a movie in a very specific place, the Diamond District sort of, you know, thing, which was an inspired idea. But this movie, it feels like it's a step in, you know, Josh getting personal, you know, which I think is welcome here, you know, because you can kind of see like the construction of their movies. It's now kind of someone could maybe, to be cruel, say they have sort of a playbook of what they're doing. And that's maybe one cynical way of looking at it. But I do appreciate that, you know, he injected his experiences growing up, you know, Jewish and the sort of Jewish identity themes that are running in this film. You know, the idea of like how Marty Supreme is Hitler's worst nightmare. That amazing, bizarre flashback with the guy from who was in Auschwitz covered in the honey. And the honey was
it's very surprising.
It was very surprising, but
we talked a lot about that. Actually,
yeah, we did.
There's a couple surprising moments like that. You know, that and the tub falling out of the scene too, like not to divert. Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of moments like that were surprising. That I was like, I don't know if they fit to
the Jewish heritage immigrant community post World War II, I did think that was super interesting because it was so much about like him in this neighborhood with these expectations, with his family unit of like, this is what you'll be the shoe salesman. We're going to be in this community together. And this feeling of like, I have a destiny. I need to pursue excellence and greatness, and I need to transcend this. Like whatever this trapping is, I need to transcend that expectation. And there was something really beautiful about like, can I beat like fate? Can I, and that's where the 80s, they were talking about too, like how the 80s came in, where it was almost this, the parallel between the 50s and the 80s, of like the new American dream, the idea of like pursuing, your own destiny and pulling yourself by your bootstraps. But then all of that is also in vain because you're chasing this dream. And then at the end,
Yeah, and I just thought it was very effective, and I thought that was that was cool to see. Again, like being in New York now for so long, I've been here almost 20 years. You'd go to screenings and you'd see them, years ago, and they'd be around, and like I sort of had this perception of them that the softies were maybe a little on the insincere hipster side. When I would see them, they presented one of my favorite movies, and I was like, whoa, where are they coming from with this? I was questioning their authenticity a little bit at the time. Yeah. This is years and years and years ago.
Right.
And I
felt like that at first too, but then we did Heaven Knows What at the theater. And I kicked it with Benny and the girl in the movie. And I was like suspicious going in too, but then I had a good time with them, and I was like, these are cool people, so I liked them after that.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm carrying around that baggage a little bit of that impression that I had of them, and
it's like, well, from a film person too, there's a little bit of like jealousy too whenever someone does really well. I think I addressed this last week.
This is before any of this. This is like their first movie. I'm talking 20 years ago. I just
like BAM or something.
Now I got to explain myself. It was at BAM, and they presented one of my favorite movies of all time, and I was going to see for the first time on the big screen, Straight Time. We've done it here on the channel. And their sort of positioning of the film during the opening was very much like, whoa, they see this movie as like a B movie exploitation, and they're sort of looking down on it. And I was very offended by that. And so I've sort of carried around this like, ooh, like fuck you sort of energy. So I kind of, when I see their movies and I'm seeing Kevin O'Leary on the screen now, flash forward 20 years later, I'm sort of questioning, what am I supposed to, like, are they coming from a sincere place with this? We're in are these moments in the movie, that sort of like ironic sort of knee jerk that they may have from back then, is that, and I feel like that's probably more to do with me. But like,
I had the same thing with Heaven Knows What, but then when I was watching it, in the theater, I was like, the filmmaking is so good, and like the camera work is so good, and just the intensity that they were brewing up was so good. And this movie, I think, is like really set apart by the strong filmmaking. I think this might be the strongest
I think
filmmaking of all of them that we've talked about. The cinematography, the lighting, like these costumes, putting Timothy Chalamet in that outfit and that mustache and stuff. Anybody else would have made it look like a joke. You know what I mean? Like
the attention to detail.
He actually looks cool.
He looks amazing.
And it's just, I don't know, like it could look like Newsies, anyone else was trying to do a period piece of like the 50s like this or something, I feel like, but I don't know, it's almost like I was like, I was walking out of the theater going, how'd they do that? How did they dial in the filmmaking so well, make the pool halls look, all the lighting's really good. Just a return of like cinematic lighting, you know?
It looked beautiful.
Beautiful.
And, a lot of the other movies we'll talk about tonight, if we have time, we'll have, the lighting was very flat or like just bright, like TV lighting, like Netflix looking lighting. Yeah. And the lighting in Marty was just legit. Like it looked so good. And
I mean, think about how beautiful when he goes to like London, and the way like when they're sitting in the Ritz or Claridge's and it's lit in that, it's like gorgeous, warm light. And like, it really does feel like, watching a classic film. It really did have that feel in a genuine way. And I think it was nice to see that, level of kind of attention to detail, and it was really beautiful. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely had a blast watching it. I don't want to get that twisted. If I'm being picky, there was a few things I wasn't sure of. As we've kind of alluded to, like Tyler the Creator wasn't really doing it for me in the movie.
Right, me neither. Really,
that was a little no. I wasn't sure about that casting. And then I just one little thing for me was just like I felt like I still wanted it to be a little tighter. If I'm being picky. I was just surprised we went back to New Jersey and back to the house.
Right. I didn't love the action stuff or the shootouts. When we were about 30 minutes in the movie, I was like, wow, this is a great movie for adults that doesn't have a machine gun in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It
and
felt
then
not
like an hour later, there's like a big shootout thing. And
I would have whatever.
It's it's a little allergic to emotion too at times, like everything is so cool and intense.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel, in like dark, people getting beat up and like there's unplanned pregnancies and I didn't feel like a lot of emotion in it. And then at the end, all of the emotion comes out of like Marty, in the last end.
I want to talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Okay, it's one of many movies that I'm learning that a way to end a movie is have the main character stare at a baby. That is an ending that people do.
Yeah. I mean, besides the baby ending, like the part when he finally gets to Japan, and like after Kevin O'Leary says that he's a vampire, which is also insane, and Kevin O'Leary came up with that line.
That's amazing.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
That was his own like improv. He
that was
made
a
I
cool
could hear
moment
him saying that on Shark Tank.
It was interesting. I was like, whoa.
I could hear him saying that on Shark Tank. Like I've heard your spiel before. I'm a vampire. So I've been around since 16.
But the way he delivered it,
I know.
There was almost it was a fine line. I was like, is he a vampire?
Right. Well, yeah.
Like,
right.
Holy
I was
shit.
a little bit afraid that, it definitely affected how I felt about Marty's victory. You know what I mean? Because I was like, "Oh, this is bad. He's going to be a vampire now."
No, but that was cool. I kind of like that twist there.
But
that scene I'm just saying that was incredible. Like the actual ping pong.
I know, it's
like
amazing.
that whole thing, and it's not a real tournament, but I was like,
I know,
screaming in the theater.
It's
I
great.
was like edge of my seat. So yeah, I did love that part.
But we should talk about this because Kevin O'Leary himself is not a fan of the staring and crying at a baby ending.
He does not like that ending.
He feels that is a betrayal of Marty's character, and I have to say I kind of agree.
Yeah.
I do think if again we just had a whole soliloquy about making sure not to nitpick how reality is reflected in these movies. But I just stay true to the character. It is kind of a stretch, I think, for someone who is kind of personally driven, narcissistic, if you will. That we
Young.
with Marty to have that sort of thought to race back to be there for her. I mean, it gives us a very touching, satisfying ending that you go away feeling great about. But
Kevin O'Leary wanted her to die in childbirth.
What? Kevin O'Leary.
And I was like, that's actually cool. And I thought and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, of course
but that felt like that would have actually maybe been the correct Chinatown kind of ending I did appreciate the warm feeling of a crowd pleasing ending, but it felt like the truer story would be like this young kid out of control, the self-interest narcissism kind of gets him and then he can't handle it. And that really kind of reads more for that.
It's a little more authentic.
For his age, whereas Safdie was talking about, his experience as a father at 40 or 41, having that revelation, whereas a 22-year-old or maybe would not. But
Right. I didn't really feel that their relationship. I didn't feel his emotions for her either.
Yeah.
I felt like he was just sort of manipulating her along with everybody else.
Exactly. I agree. She was great. I loved her.
She was
great.
She is, I think, the most underrated performance or whatever you want to call it. I just think she was incredible in that film.
Yeah, she was the heart of that movie.
She was so good, and of course, another added element that Marty Supreme has is the sort of confidence men. The sort of idea of like a huckster, if you will, type of movie, which are always fun to watch those. But again, a brilliant, plot device or a brilliant thing to include is that moment when he wipes away her black eye makeup and realizes, she's just as much of a hustler as he is, which is just great. I mean, that is a great moment. And I don't know, they just did a wonderful job.
I agree with you, Marcus. Like, he's almost unable to see her, which I feel actually rings very true to men at that age. Like I always would describe this to my friends, like where men seem to have like some kind of veil over their eyes, like for a very long time. like they're seeing themselves and they're seeing the world, but and I'm sorry to generalize to the men out there. But like for, women, there's so many, I don't know, you're as a young woman too, you're yearning sometimes for a man to like make this connection with you when you're younger, and he seems just not, he can't like see you yet.
Yeah.
Well, he's sort of sexual conquesting with, Gwyneth for most of the movie too, compared to like, kind of just sticking her at his friend's like guest bedroom.
I know.
Yeah. And he's doing that with Gwyneth because of her, fame and her celebrity, and it's all about the hustle. So like that's really who that character is, and you don't really ever see him acknowledge another person in a genuine way, especially a woman. So the ending was a little bit of like, okay, we're gonna really that's a little quick to
it feels like it was
that
kind
emotional
of,
development.
Yeah, it feels like quick. it was kind of tacked, or it just feels kind of like a quick bow to put on the film.
Yeah.
But we got to mention what Kevin O'Leary's idea was, right? I mean, His idea.
His idea was that he was actually a vampire. Okay, so I read an article, I think it was in Variety the other day, and he wanted to get.
You see Begonia? You saw Begonia?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I guess they did like a few shots where they put in digital teeth, and then he said he wanted to bite Marty's neck, like at the end, and that was the end. That like he got punished.
But they filmed it, or they made something?
I think they did. I think they did some mock-ups of like the teeth and stuff.
Hell yeah.
And then I think Josh was like, okay, that's just
too crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
For us to take it.
No.
But I was like, whoa.
Yeah. But I do agree that the ending was one thing I wasn't sure of exactly. But
like, it made me feel good. I saw it on Christmas and I was happy, but at the same time I was like, I don't know if that was the right ending. Yeah.
I do like he's sort of like a kind of, he's so charismatic that we are conned by him too, because he's like not a good person.
Totally.
Yes. But you're like along for the ride with him because he's so charismatic.
He's so
I like that we're
enjoyable to
getting
watch.
conned.
Yeah. And it was fun to see that kind of anti-hero that's super charming.
Yes.
Like it's just you're so with him, and it's it's fun.
Yeah. And I do want to say that I think, Gwyneth was amazing, and it was great to see her again. And I wish, she kind of disappears in the movie a little bit, but also another amazing moment too, which speaks to the charm of Chalamet, is when, she's auditioning, or they're like rehearsing that play that she's in, and then he comes in and shows them how to throw the knife or whatever. That was or stab with the knife. That was
I like
great.
that part.
Great stuff.
Or the apple thing too.
Yes. Yeah.
Throwing the apple into the bowl.
Yes. That was weird. Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. I mean, really, truly great stuff. So had a lot of fun with that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Rémy, do you want to go to Begonia since we mentioned it?
we can. We don't have to harp too much on it.
No. These are the two big ones. I think Marty and One Battle are the big ones.
I mean, Evan knows my main topic of like interest is, like how we've kind of fallen into a state of like fractured, unshared reality.
Yes.
The descent into conspiracy theories. I mean, like when QAnon first was hitting the scene, I got super fascinated about that.
Rémy's a big QAnon fan.
I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, but like I was very interested in like the whole satanic panic history that happened in the 80s. So when this started cropping up, I was like, seeing a lot of echoes from that, past. And and I think like, to me, I've always been very preoccupied with that idea of like, propaganda and how that proliferates and the information ecosystems. And this I thought was just it was almost like watching a play. And I thought it was a very, the performances I thought were like completely just incredible.
Let's sort of mention it. I mean, I think what's really interesting about this movie is, we're not living in a shared reality anymore. There's thousands, if not millions, of separate realities and bubbles that people live in now currently thanks to social media and, algorithms and certain things like that. And I think that's what's really fascinating about this film in particular, even though some of the others this year touch on these same themes, but the idea of somebody like Jesse Plemons' character in this, who is radicalized through all of this Well, that's at least how he's presented in the character through all this disinformation
and the traumatic experiences that he's had in his own life,
right?
And the distrust that he's developed through valid reasons.
Yes,
and I think that's also that's
key, by the way,
very key. I think because it's also an indictment of the corrupt corporate entities that have made people susceptible to this distrust in the first place.
It's multi-layered.
So I take pains to not paint it left or right, because he's like, I've been around the spectrum. I was alt-right, alt-light, progressive, left, far left, whatever.
Because often that's what happens. I mean, when most, like a huge majority of a lot of, especially the wellness QAnon people, they went from Bernie supporters to just health and wellness to the, conspiracy theories. Then it became alt-right, or not alt-right, but hard right or whatever. So that's a very common thread.
Yeah. I love that it was represented. I love that that was represented.
And Jesse Plemons said that when he was preparing, he was obsessed with the book Doppelgangers by Naomi Klein, which is one of my favorite books of the past 10 years.
Shout out.
So I just appreciated seeing that part of our current history represented, and that is complicated. The reasons why people do believe in conspiracy theories is complicated. It's so much about community, about belonging, about trauma, but also about the fact that we are living in a system that, has failed so many people, has made people distrustful and hurt people. And, of course, the pharmaceutical companies is the other. So it's who is the enemy here? Yeah. And it's super, super complicated. But, in my mind, I think, part of the alien part of the movie, I didn't always love the conclusion, because part of me kind of wants to harp on the reality that people have been super led astray into these rabbit holes, usually by other entities that are, have their own interests in mind. Yeah. Sorry, Marcus.
I as a cynical movie watcher, I did guess that the twist, that there would be a twist, and that would be the twist. So I did guess that. So when it actually she ends up on the alien spaceship, I was kind of rolling my eyes at first, but I did appreciate that there was a new alien aesthetic, because usually things usually things look like H.R. Geiger or Apple. You know what I mean? So I was glad to see a new aesthetic there, and then also the montage at the end, I think, made up for the twist. I loved seeing all those people laid out.
Oh, that was amazing!
Around the world.
Beautiful.
And that's when I got super jealous. Oh man, that was a great montage. I wish I'd done that.
It was really fucking cool.
Yeah, very more songs from the second floor.
That made the twist worth it. Yeah, I mean, this guy's a real ass director. I love Dogtooth.
Me too.
Yeah. But it was interesting because it makes you look at yourself. It made me examine myself because I was I had this kind of reticence to go fantasy, because I felt like there was such a serious, prescient issue to address. But that also speaks to my own feeling of needing to resolve this issue because of all the disinformation that's swirling around. But at the same time, a director, an artist, that's not necessarily their job. Their job is to ask more questions and answer those questions to create a creative repretation of a confusing, complex time. And I think he did that.
Yeah. And I also want to, just with this movie too, I don't know, just as you're hearing you guys talk about it, it's with the, of course, the way that the movie ends, where it's revealed not only, is she really an alien, but that Jesse Plemons is a fucking serial killer.
I almost forgot about that.
And it's also pretty crazy. But to me, I don't know, I guess you also could interpret it not at face value as well too, that, the film sort of then does indulge the fantasies of
it does,
okay, fine, let's play out the conspiracy. Let's play out what Emma Stone's fears are of Jesse Plemons and who this person might really be, a psychopath.
It's like a creative exercise.
It is almost in a way,
interesting way.
And I thought it was interesting to take the audience all the way there. I thought that was fun, and you know, it's
like a short story or something.
Exactly.
Like Gift of the Magi.
Totally. So I do appreciate on that level because I still think all the things that you're saying ring true with the movie.
Yeah.
100%. And then even all of that stuff aside, you know, how prescient it is in our reality or lack thereof, it is also the fact that it's got like the conceit of thriller. You know, I mean, this is or like a horror film in many places. That scene when she's hooked up to the machine or whatever, like I felt like, what am I at Fantastic Fest?
No.
You know, like what's going on here? You know, like it turns into like a horror film.
But you know, when the makeup, she has that like crazy white cream on her face with like the eyebrows.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie Mephisto.
Yes.
It's from 1981. It's a Hungarian movie.
Yes,
and it's about the rise of fascism.
Yes.
In the Nazi
musical,
1930s. Right? There's a lot of musical elements in it because it's
making a musical.
It's about like a leftist actor who
Mm-hmm.
then gets seduced by like the Nazi party. And
Right.
I really kept on thinking about that movie.
Interesting.
When I was, and her makeup looks almost exactly.
Well, she's got those huge eyes, so she looks like an alien.
Yeah, but the white German, almost German expressionism kind of type.
Amazing.
And that film is also a comment about like the descent into like authoritarianism and fascism and, you know, the Faustian bargains that we make that, you know, the sort of tech pharmaceutical CEO who is completely inauthentic. You know, she's making a Faustian bargain in the same way the conspiracy theorist is making a Faustian bargain in a way to descend into that place of delusion. You know, and so it's like we're exploring both sides of kind of the terror that landed us where we are today.
Yeah, and I just think like we got to I'd be remiss if I didn't say Emma Stone.
Oh my God, she's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, the female performance of the year for me is definitely her in this movie. I mean, she's amazing.
It seems like she was a real collaborative force too with the director because they've done like 3 movies together, and it seems like she's. Like,
but she's.
I mean, just dialed in.
She's so incredible.
What she can do is insane.
You said this once, Rémy, when we watched The Curse. You know, obviously Emma Stone and The Curse. We're bringing it up again here. Another Curse alumni. You can tell the sign, you said this, it's a sign of a great actress or actor when you can really tell that in the performance, the person is thinking. You can see the character thinking. You know, and when you can see the character thinking, that person is really inhabiting that person, you know, and she does that such a sophisticated, dialed up, dialed in way.
And there's like a precision there.
She's amazing.
Well, it's funny because she's like, well, you know, she's trying to get him in the closet or whatever. And she's like, well, you think that's what she's trying to do is to get him into the closet at the end, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you go ahead and get in there. He's like, I should go in there. She's like, fine, I'll go. And you think in your head for a second that she's manipulating him into going in there. But really, you know, I don't know. I just like how it works on all those different levels.
And something else I was thinking about, because I had mentioned like Eddington as well.
We're going to get there.
And this movie and a little bit of One Battle, what they're almost doing is they're taking these fantastical, mythical stories, right, that have been created online, that have been circling the internet, right? Like whether it's conspiracy theories or Tucker Carlson's propaganda about like Antifa or, you know, a QAnon conspiracy of lizard people and pedophiles, like, and they're taking all these crazy stories that have been in this stew out there and they're bringing them to life and they're personifying them almost in these like plays, you know, where like these theories and fantasies and stories are getting embodied, and then we're getting to see them played out on a stage. And so it's insane. I was like, this is a really interesting way to do this. Like where even like the black radical leftist group that's portrayed in One Battle, like if you watch the news or, you know, right wing news, they talk about that all the time. Whereas there really aren't, those really don't exist anymore. You know, this like super organized left wing, but in that movie, they sort of do exist. And, you know, and then in Eddington, you have like the Antifa coming down at the end and like, that doesn't really exist like that, but we have them depicted like, you know, Christmas adventurers. Yes, we have that, but it's a hyper version.
That's right.
You know, and so it's almost like
it does keep it fresh in a way that you're not like rolling your eyes because it mirrors reality too much.
But it's just crazy because it's like we see these things online and they're almost like perceptions.
It's indulging
stories,
them,
But that's almost like if you drew a picture of them and like set them into the real world and let them play with each other.
Right.
You know, and
it's
like a dollhouse.
Well, like a movie makes monsters aren't real either, but then you've got movies where there's vampires or werewolves.
Yeah, but it's weird that we've all created these stories. Like all these stories have been created.
Like as you said, it's like holding up a cracked mirror to our post-reality world. And like that's what it is, and that this is the most creative way of sort of integrating that into these movies, and that's what makes this year's films more interesting than fucking whatever we had.
Like each of the things represented are the
whale
kind of extreme version. So even like you've got like the performative, young kind of protest Black Lives Matter folks.
Well, are we getting into Eddington?
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
one last thing on Begonia for you,
Yes.
but I have to say, I'm happy that Stavros has a career after Come Down.
Stavros.
Yeah, he did take me out of it a little bit.
That,
I was just
me
thinking,
too.
I was just
that casting was a little weird.
I was just hearing him on Come Town, like in my head the whole time, and it is so weird to me that like. After that podcast ended, that Adam and Stavros are the ones like ascending into pop culture.
I know,
and like everyone, Nick is like the talented one, and he's nowhere right now. So
they really took off.
The Stavros casting, I wasn't like that. That was a little off. Sorry, but I sort of felt that way about the movie. If I were to give it a ding. But yeah, Begonia,
that was getting. They were using him a lot in the marketing.
I know.
They're pushing him out to interviews.
The podcast demographic,
right? You hit the podcast.
Yeah, but no, I just thought it was a very smart, interesting, unique film. And I don't always love his movies either, Yorgos. But this one I really thought was interesting. And
it was like a chamber piece.
The performances
was interesting.
Jesse
Plemons, I was like, damn.
Yeah, incredible.
I'm like so in love with him now.
Dude.
That movie.
That was good because he's like a TV actor in my head, but now it's like a movie.
Not anymore.
He was incredible.
Really good.
I could watch that performance.
Let's move on to. We'll be here all night long. Let's talk about Eddington. Ari Aster Eddington. Ari's, here's another film from Ari. I mean, I go back with him many years back to when I saw his short film, The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, was really obsessed with how insane and bold and funny that short film was. And he was always someone to watch for me of what, this guy was going to do. And horror wasn't my first thought when I saw Strange Thing About the Johnsons, but of course he did Hereditary, and that was a big successful film. He did Midsommar, and Beau is Afraid, and did I miss one? No, I don't think so. And this is now his fourth movie, is that right? Did I miss one? I don't know. But Eddington, here it is, and I didn't see it until, I guess it came out on VOD was when we saw it?
Yeah.
And because I had seen sort of that there was this overwhelming negative reaction to this movie that came out of whatever its festival premiere was.
Cannes, I think was the
Cannes,
first.
yeah. And I was like, oh no, and I kind of felt bad, and I was like, oh shit, and then when we went to watch it, I don't know. To me, I was very surprised at that reaction, but I could see that this movie is bold in a sense. That it's, we're going to make a movie set in 2020 COVID. We're going to,
which no one wants to see.
Nobody wants to see.
That's what I was thinking. Like, it's a little too soon.
People don't. It's uncomfortable.
People do not want to see that. We don't want to relive that awful time and seeing people in masks and the whole thing.
6 feet away and toilet paper. And
yeah.
But I was thinking, thank God he did it, but he did it, because if he couldn't have waited any longer, because you definitely wouldn't have made this movie. No. It's almost like the perfect, because it's a time capsule. Like you can always look back at Eddington and be like, holy shit, that is an insane,
time capsule.
Weird fever dream time capsule of that period.
Yeah.
And it could be in a museum, in a weird, history museum of you want to know what fucking happened in that weird, check this movie out.
Yeah. I could see 10 years from now, and then people are like, these things are so bad that people are looking back fondly on the COVID era.
The 6
no, because this is also such a huge time when obviously there was culture war, Me Too movement and all that stuff prior.
Culture wars have always been going
for
on.
sure, of course, but just in terms of what was happening in 2016, and then 2020 hit, and then of course Black Lives Matter, and it was this really sort of it's not too different than now in terms of just the aggression, the anger, the fear, and just people, living in different bubbles of information silos. Yeah. And there's no shared reality. We've touched on this, of course, about talking about other films of this year, but that what was really compelling to me is like, okay, now we're going to center again, like a stage play in a sense, in a small town, how this kind of all plays out. But again, it's in an absurd way.
Absurd.
It's an absurdist way, and also a vehicle for a genre film, which is kind of what we're seeing in the other films too. And so I did appreciate that, because it's a wild, bold experiment, and I can see why that wouldn't work for some people, and I could also see why it's a tricky balance has with this movie, because depending on where you are on the political spectrum, you could watch this and feel at times outraged or emboldened by the way certain things are depicted, because it is depicting the absurdity of the black screen during Instagram, during Black Lives Matter, and then
if you really believed in Antifa as this terrible, scary organization, you might watch that and be like, "Fuck." They're coming for me. So, I mean, I would be nervous for some people to watch it and be like, see? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
people get touchy around those subjects.
They do.
But it's so funny to I was laughing hysterically. Like,
me too.
Because it's like, it's so dark, that this shit is so dark that, like, I'm like, damn, you have to laugh sometimes. And the way that, I mean, I thought Joaquin,
Phoenix.
What's his fucking name? Phoenix. I was like, you're just blank. No, I thought it was like one of his best performances, to be honest. I thought he was really funny, and the use of all the screens constantly, and what's happening, because even with all of us, I think to a certain extent, like, we didn't even realize how much we were sideload in our little, especially because we were isolated, right? But like how people, depending on what town they lived in, whatever it may be, like, we had our own sense of like, this was right, this was wrong, this is the rules we live by.
Because the algorithms were reinforcing everything that you had. If you were seeing one reality, it was constantly being reinforced, and so but yet at the same time, we're not around each other. We're so distant from one another,
and
physically.
The uncertainty that was happening. I mean, it was like an unprecedented global event. Almost like people and civilizations like that, they lose their fucking minds when stuff like that, and that's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah,
and so it's like we're back.
There was no precedent like in modern history.
Of course not.
For a pandemic,
right? So of course you're going to have almost these kind of like religious, almost like death cults, and the QAnon, and then all this anger and frustration, and but I thought, like, another that I was saying about these little internet worlds come to life. It's like all the most extreme elements of each of these groups was it's like, for instance, like, you have genuine activists and advocates out there, right? Like, for advocating for social justice, racial justice. And then you have the very performative, annoying virtue signaling white people on whatever social media. And so it's like you're seeing kind of the worst of each thing. If you were, I mean, I don't use social media, but if you were on Twitter at the time that Ari Aster was saying he kind of took the world of Twitter and all these different algorithms and then threw it into a movie. Into like a boiling pot.
Which is bold, it's bold.
Right. Because a lot of people are on social media seeing those things. Like in real life.
I know.
It's not as fun. Yeah.
No, I know. It's horrible, but it's almost like, even to have that as like a document, like a historical document.
Right. I was thinking about that too. It's almost like it's gonna be like the net. The net captured like early internet.
And hackers. I think I think
this will probably age well.
I think this will age really well.
That's what I believe too.
As a social satire.
I think that as well. I think that it's too soon in some ways for maybe a majority of people to look at what happened just a couple of years ago in terms of a satirical sense. Or people want escapism, from that time period, and I get that,
and it's still terrifying. None of it's gone away.
It's not really gone away. We're living in the aftermath of all of it still. It's fractured our reality, and we're still dealing with it. But it's important, and I think that. But I do think as we get farther away from that time period, people will be. It'll age well, and I think that's good.
Historical document.
Anything.
I do wish it was sort of like, it captured all those hallmarks of the era, And I didn't feel like I came away with like an understanding of like what, if there was like an analysis of it, I felt I saw the signifiers of the era.
I think that's actually intentional.
I didn't really, then the ending is like this big kind of shootout type thing. So like it's kind of like fuck everything, like mowing everything down with a machine gun.
That felt because that was like
is that what it's supposed to be about?
Well, that part was first person shooter, so that became all of a sudden like a Call of Duty game. Yes. So like that was super cool. I felt because all of a sudden then like we're in Call of Duty and like and then the very ending is so fucking good. That because like. Okay, it goes crazy in Berserko with that Call of Duty stuff, but then you get that weird ending with like the data center finally being built. The mom, the weird QAnon
Can we give a
mom.
shout out to Ari just really quick about like being ahead of the curve on data center
on commentary about data centers,
data center
incredible
core on in your film.
Yeah.
Like wow,
like it's the
that's
hell
pretty zeitgeisty. Yeah,
all the internet hellscape, right? It's like manifested, but he's also saying, look at the future. This all is a fucking hellfire, hell pit of shit. It's gonna get fucking worse. Look at the future. What's coming? It's AI, guys. We don't have a shared reality. We have propaganda everywhere. Everyone's losing their damn minds, and then we're gonna bring in this tool to just fuck, like to destroy everything. So I think that's really smart that he opened with an AI data center and that, and then closed with that of like, this is what we really have to be afraid of.
No, 100%. And I do think it speaks again to it's a satirical, absurdist moment again, in terms of like kind of, placating like the fantasy of that character too, and taking it as far as you can, with the Joaquin Phoenix character, which again is also a bold leading character to have in a movie.
Very.
Not a hero really.
Not a lot of people want to identify with a guy like that, especially, film writers who might be at Cannes might not want to be, might not want to have that as their main character. But to me,
another anti-hero.
Exactly.
Right. He was slightly like lib coded in a way. Like I didn't feel like he was full on like right wing coded.
Which I think
he's got this like artistic wife, and they live in sort of an art directed
small
version
town
of New Mexico house.
And even how he says, like he says about George Floyd, he's like, that was a horrible murder. It's inexcusable. But that doesn't mean
he seems sort of like quiet and nice. He was sort of annoyed they had to wear a mask, but he didn't.
And he's based on a real person. He's based on a real guy. A real sheriff.
Wow.
That Ari Aster had spent a lot of time with. And so the real guy like came to the screening. I was listening to an interview.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So there is an interesting amount of humanity with his depiction.
Right.
And then it starts to go full like Jim Thompson style.
Right.
Jim Thompson. Like bad, corrupt cop in a small town, kind of like parable of that. But
that's the Western part.
Like noir, Western noir kind of thing.
But yes, the data center ending, but it also has this like series of like BUGONIA. It ends with this quiet montage, of him sort of being like cared for. It's not as fresh in my mind as because I saw it over 6 months ago, but like, he's kind of like, he's kind of like in a vegetable.
He's incapacitated.
He's like a vegetable. He's a vegetable, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all these shots of him like in the motorized bed and, or whatever, and all this stuff. And it kind of feels like BUGONIA in a way, these poignant sort of poetic shots of him.
And the mother-in-law is like rattling off all this anti-vax crazy shit, like MRR vaccines. And
right.
So like he's like a vegetable and she's just talking all this crazy anti-vax shit. And then
I love that.
The young like white kid who was super like performative Black Lives Matter kid.
Yeah.
He then becomes a MAGA right-wing influencer. Right. And I was like that when I rewatched it again recently, I was like, that is so good.
Yeah, it is.
And like, he's making all these videos with selfies like, hey,
that's right.
Because he was upset that the girl he liked ended up like dating like his Latino friend or something, right? So that's why he went.
And then there's shots of him with like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he's like becomes a full-on influencer, and then the data center. So I was like, this movie concludes in a pretty accurate, like they really summed it up.
Becomes a documentary. Yeah.
Totally. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
One thing that this is a minor quibble, but like in movies, sometimes the budget is apparent to me watching these movies. Sometimes, like
I see,
and you probably for you guys too, but
sure,
like sometimes they stretch it the production a little thin, and I start to see the edges of the production a little bit.
Yeah.
And it came out here, and I know it's a COVID movie, so like everyone's supposed to be on lockdown, but the crowds are like so thin, you know, like the riots, you know. There's like a news conference. There's like, you know, I could see like it was the crew, you know, we'll put 2 people in the front.
I thought that was on
people
purpose.
over here, and
I really did.
Yeah, you might be right.
I thought it was that play thing again.
Yeah.
Where
But then you see Marty Supreme, and you're like, there's so many fucking people.
Oh no,
there's so many bodies in that movie.
But I think it's like an opposite. I almost felt like it was supposed to be like
Small
a community
town.
play.
Yeah.
No, like it was.
That's what made it feel more like a play to me. You know,
Yeah.
what was that? And I don't know. I don't know. I just like to see like I'd like to see more people.
I thought that was
going forward. Can we please have more human bodies in these movies?
I thought that was a joke. I think it is a joke.
I don't know. I was thinking more of it as like a production solution.
No,
like, ooh, what if I did a COVID movie?
No, I think it's a joke.
Save money on
No, because I think it's the
they can afford.
No,
they
no,
can
I'm not
afford
saying being
people.
cynical, but just as someone who comes from a music video background, those kind of thoughts are with you sometimes. Like, well,
No,
like, you know,
They're not that expensive.
That
people
was
to stand
I
on.
think that was the humor of the fact that it's like there's a huge riot outside, and then the whole point is it's actually like 5 kids, and that was part of the humor of it. Like it's supposed to be this like dinky.
Well, there you go.
Like
Yeah.
so. Anyway, I thought about that actually rewatching. I was like, that's really funny that they did that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it makes it even more absurd.
It's not even just this movie. I've noticed that sometimes. I'm watching the crowd size a lot.
Yeah, no, I definitely do that. But in this, I thought it was like a comedic touch.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think it does. I think this movie can grow on you. I don't know.
Yes. No. And
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it's a very particular thing, and I think, you know, for people who may not want to look directly into the heart of darkness with the last couple of years, I get it. But I think it's worth your time to check it out.
Yeah. Well,
and
you
again,
know,
you know, like Joaquin Phoenix has not always been my favorite either. You know, after Joker, you know, because you know, I find he gets very Joker a lot with his performances. But I felt like he was very restrained here, and I thought he was pretty naturalistic. And it was really cool to see him in a role like that again, where he doesn't have to be so big and long leash. You know, I really,
yeah, he was actually kind of smaller.
He was, I did appreciate that. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think at first, like I'm imagining like people watching this movie at Cannes, and it was almost like that, like you said, that too soon feeling. And you know how like it's uncomfortable, for instance, if like you go out of your own algorithm, or we go out of our bubble, or by accident we flip on Fox News, or someone else flips on NBC, whatever. Like, and we have a low tolerance at this point for that. And it, almost in a weird way, this movie is like throwing you into like
the other algorithm,
ecosystems,
the opposite algorithm,
and you're getting bumped
There's
up
a
against
lot.
different.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, there's the cops, the protesters, the professional Antifa. Then there's like the Austin Butler, like Russell Brand.
Yeah, the kind of like
guy,
cute cult leader, wellness guy.
There's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot, and so I think it's like a funny experience at first. Like you're just kind of like, ooh, like it's all super uncomfortable.
All right. Well, I think that those are the big chunkier films I wanted to discuss for 2025. I think those are all interesting, worth your time to check out for sure. A couple others I wanted to mention. Do you guys mind if we move on? Is that okay?
No.
Sure. What are we at? Like 2 fucking hours?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
All right. But the one that I just wanted to touch on, which was a little bit of a disappointment for me. We'll go in a different gear. We'll switch gears here. Is the other Safdie film, and I feel bad saying that because I love Benny so much, and you know we're huge fans of him as a person, but also you know, The Curse, as we mentioned many times here tonight. We love The Curse, and Smashing Machine was a disappointment for me, and it can just be brief, you know. In terms of like, I was excited to see it because obviously coming off The Curse, that The Curse, you know, even to me, all of these movies aside, like that's still my favorite thing I've seen in recent memory.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's so unbelievable. The Curse is incredible. So you can do no wrong in my eyes, you know, because of you did that. I mean, the fucking Curse is incredible. Yeah. But you know, I guess for me, in short, with Smashing Machine is I just had maybe an anticipation that it was going to be a little weirder. You know, it was going to be something that, you know, from the guys that brought you The Curse, you know, we're going to have a more interesting, and at times it would hint at that in a very small microscopic way. It would hint at, like, you know, Dwayne Johnson, of course, you know, he plays a, you know, UFC fighter, and of course, a real UFC fighter, and it's sort of a biopic of his time during that formation of UFC, getting into substance abuse problems and marital problems and whatever have you. At times, it just felt like it was such a boilerplate biopic of a guy where the drama and the story didn't even get that dramatic, at least for me. It didn't feel like, and I sort of understand where his influences, like he's very influenced by these sort of 80s, 90s HBO undercover sort of style, documentary, that sort of follow doc approach. And I get bugging out over that stylistically and nerding out over the analog camera video look and getting into that and how we're going to incorporate that. And
I loved like the ugly production design and the interiors of the houses, like New Mexico kind of vibe.
I'm totally with you, but I feel like what he's really
I liked it better than Eddington's.
Okay,
there we go.
All right, there we go.
And not the film, but just the production.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like, I understand the want to, be inspired by those films and then kind of have a more restrained, or we're going to play with your expectations sports movies, movie, like we're not going to give you those satisfying sports movie moments, which is interesting because, Marty Supreme gives you that, it's giving you the big glossy sports movie satisfaction at the edge of your seat, ping pong matches, where the sort of mixed martial arts matches in this are very, I don't know, in my opinion, underwhelming. It almost feels like you're 3 rows behind trying to like figure out what's going on. And the commentator voices are mixed in a very strange way. Anyway, I just sort of felt like the drama in the movie was either very restrained or it felt kind of like cliche, I hate to say, in a way where like the struggles that he's going through with the drugs are just these arguments, these domestic arguments they get into, feel like we've seen these types of situations 800 times in movies.
Yeah.
And at times, I feel like Benny's maybe even trying to create something tonally that's akin to like a 90s made for TV movie, almost like a sort of cheesy, comfort foodie made for TV film.
It looked like Locked in, what was it called? Locked in the Closet, R. Kelly thing, or what was
Trapped
it?
in the Closet. It does feel like Trapped in the Closet.
It
at
kind
times.
of reminded me of Trapped in the Closet.
And that's the thing where it's like I know he's going for that. I think he's going for something kind of like that cheesy 90s thing, but but I don't know. It's like I imagined like, okay, it's going to be Dwayne Johnson in this weird fucking makeup and this weird head running around, moving around in this very weird, like dream-like fighter film is what I was sort of thinking, where everything was going to be kind of bugged out and weird and like kind of cough syrupy. Like the idea, like, and it hints at it, like when he's in his backyard, like when he's high on drugs, like fixating on like the size of his cactus.
I love that part.
I needed
I actually really
69% more of that.
Those are great.
I liked when he's showering to the Cleaners from Venus song.
Sure, yeah. And so it sort of it hints
he
at
was showering. Well, whatever. There's one. He's showering too.
Yeah, no, he is. And it's like there's it just hints at those kind of weirder, more esoteric, eccentric moments that could be, but then it kind of has these very like stock dramatic moments that just feel very cliche, like I was saying. And also you don't feel the drama in the fights, and I know that was intentional. Like, I don't know, I just wish that like, it kind of makes you hungry for like a Raging Bull, like where you feel the stakes of like why this guy's doing this, and even though it's, killing him and killing his relationship, but like I want to understand why like he's willing to throw everything else away for it. And but again, that would be more conventional. I get that, but I felt like I was yearning for like conventional in a stylistic a way, not necessarily in a on the page. So, but I have to say that the sort of nice thing I want to say about it is I actually thought Dwayne Johnson's performance was pretty good.
Yeah,
and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, that was really interesting to see him kind of, of course, behind makeup and all of that stuff. But I thought he gave a pretty weird, small, measured kind of performance with adding a lot of eccentricity to the character, which I appreciated. So
I think the prosthetic's pretty good too.
Yeah, it is
definitely.
Compared to like, what was that the Elmer
Maestro.
Yes.
Oh, that was like a blight on awards. history. Award season history.
We should do one.
We should do that.
If anyone wants to see a 1 fucking hour audio commentary track on Maestro,
should really do that.
Sign up on the Patreon. We're gonna do it. All right. That would be a blast.
I know.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Smashing Machine. So it's kind of a C+ range for me, or C+ range. But of course, Benny, can't wait to see what you do next, man. You're a genius.
For sure.
You're the best.
I think it's fun. I liked most of it, except I didn't like the Emily Blunt.
Oh yeah, that was definitely the weak sauce.
Yeah,
was Emily Blunt's character, and it felt like she didn't have a lot to work with.
Well, I just don't like that trope.
That's a trope.
Kind of like trashy woman.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. I like beautiful movie stars
thing,
playing like the trashy women with the long nails. I'm like, all right, we've seen it.
It
didn't feel accurate. It felt like just cast a normal woman.
Yeah,
to play.
True.
It would have been so much cooler.
True.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Should we talk about some of our GPs, or Rémy, do you want to talk about sentimental value?
I don't know. I don't know if we need to go. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're not raving, but we liked it.
Yeah. Yes. But if you want to see, interesting, great performances, good, script.
Yeah.
Sentimental
classy
value.
movie.
Yeah.
Sentimental value.
Yeah.
Okay,
with Skarsgård and help me. What's her name?
Right. I just kind of always assume that there's like a steady stream of good movies coming out of Europe, like at all times. Right?
Yeah. This one was good.
It was good.
Family drama, childhood drama.
Yeah. No, it was good. It's very good. Definitely see it if you want to see a good film from this year or last year. One film I want to just give a quick shout out to that I think everyone should see. It's on Netflix. Documentary, The Perfect Neighbor. Just really infuriating, riveting, upsetting film that's all kind of put together with body cam footage of police officers and also from some archive footage here and there. But the whole thing is about basically this neighborhood conflict where this crazy ass woman shoots this her black neighbor over like these month-long disputes that they've been having where the cops keep routinely getting called.
She's harassing like the children in the neighborhood.
Yeah, she's harassing the children and they don't know what to do. For
just playing in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but she's kind of also radicalized by all the media she's consuming. And this is a documentary. And then she gets pushed to a moment where it's kind of that stand your ground situation where she shoots this woman through her front door and kills her.
The mother.
But it's all, this whole film is strung together where you can see with your own eyes the body cam footage. And of course, like off the heels of what took place in Minnesota this week, it's like, holy shit, this is kind of like, here we are again, seeing footage being presented to us, and
you can spin it and you can have all these takes, but when you watch the footage, it speaks for itself.
Exactly. So
right.
Perfect Neighbor, one of the best docs of the year. Great. Another good doc, even though it was a doc series, Marcus, was Peewee as himself. I know that that was an emotional watch for you.
It was. Of course. The last like 10 minutes or so, for sure. Yeah. I thought it was great. And I was surprised because he was a huge person for me growing up. I had that framed Life magazine of him on my wall, and when his show got taken away, I was I was devastated. And I was so angry, and I always stood by him no matter what, and
definitely.
And so it was, anyway, I was sort of not sure what to think going. I didn't want to see like a bad Netflix doc on him or something, but finding out that he was so involved in it and he delivered so much incredible old footage, the archive
amazing.
Of his. All these art films that he made in school. And it was so amazing to go from someone that you felt like you didn't really know that much. Like everyone knows Peewee, but you didn't really feel like you ever got to know Paul Rubens. Yeah. And from not knowing anything about him to like basically knowing everything about him over the course of one, 3-hour period, I thought was, and then still coming out just like having, and loving the guy and being even more grateful for what he, his contribution to entertainment and culture.
Oh yeah, no, and it was great to get that vindication of like what took place, in terms of like all the times he was in in the sort of front lines of controversy and just how unfair and insane all that was. Yeah. and right. I'm surprised it took this long for something to, course correct those stories. Yeah. And it's sad that, of course he didn't get to see the reception to this piece and that,
Right. Yeah. And it was so interesting too to see, like, sometimes people could maybe lump him in with other like kind of like character comics of the 80s, like even Sam Kinison, who makes the kind of asshole appearance in the doc. But, there's all those people like Emo Phillips, all those people that had like a shtick,
a shtick.
And but like just to see like how hands-on his artistic approach was to everything, and
visionary,
the merging of performance art and visual art and all those things coming together and really spelling it out for people. Yeah, that now he wasn't just this goofy like soupy sales guy.
No.
Well, he was like a hard art guy, and I think that's what's like. I think that hit home for a lot of people, being like, oh, that's why it resonated so much, because like when we all loved him and adored him when we were kids, and then when you see what his references were and all that stuff that was like behind that inspiration for Peewee's Playhouse, you're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Right.
Totally.
And just what a driven like Marty, really driven creative. And just seeing like before all the things, all the controversies that happened to him later that like that impacted him as a person and affected his life and made him like whatever, had a huge impact on him. But just seeing like how him being closeted for all those years and being secretive, and how that stuff had a huge impact on his like soul too.
Totally.
And
the homophobia of that like time period too, in the 80s and early 90s, and talk about culture wars. I mean, that was like huge at the time. So, he was like
he was the real center of that.
Victim of that, because it was also kind of this kind of propaganda witch hunt.
Yeah. Totally.
And he just
one thing I want to say about the film, and then let's kind of wrap it up, is I did also sympathize with the filmmakers, and that might not be apparent, to a lot of viewers, but I don't mean that in any other way, and just that, like, I've had a similar experience of sitting in front of the camera, sitting behind the camera in front of somebody who, struggles with trust, and is struggling with sort of the project, and having, being neurotic about it, if you will, and thinking about it in certain ways, and that struggle of the filmmaker to try and keep the line of questioning on topic. Like, I can get that sense that they've been there for 4 hours and he's only gotten through half of one page of questions. Like, I know, and I think the fact that they leaned into the process of, trying to get that out of Peewee and trying to work with him in that, I think just only added so much to who he really was, in terms of giving that sort of, if you want to call it warts and all, or just that sort of full view of his personality and the control that he wanted to have over every aspect of himself and his story and everything. And then the fact that he's kind of like going back and forth on the filmmaker and kind of making him jump through these hoops and proving himself constantly in order to fully open up is right. And then of course having that beautiful moment at the end where he sends that message, it's just, it adds so much to the piece, and makes it kind of more than just like a doc series, I really appreciated that. I thought that was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Rémy, you got you have a guilty pleasure. I have a guilty pleasure from this year. So start with yours.
And they're all guilty for me, just so you know.
Yeah, all
be guilty about liking all of them.
New movies are guilty. True. Okay, so Rémy, just really quick, we can be short because we've been overstaying our welcome here, but what was your guilty pleasure of 2025?
I think it was the Kate Hudson movie. Oh. The Song Blue. Sorry, that was a great guilty pleasure movie. Yeah. Really sentimental, fun, sad, melodramatic, heartwarming.
Total plane movie. Great plane movie. True story about this Milwaukee couple who do a Neil Diamond tribute band. Which I think is a great premise already for a bio. But it goes in dark places, twists and turns, and I gotta say it's more dramatic than the Smashing Machine. Yeah, and
very endearing performances. Kate Hudson is great, and Hugh Jackman randomly is really great.
He is in it. Yeah, he's good in it. And Kate Hudson, incredible. She's from my Almost Famous. Hold on.
Of course.
Right. Does anybody remember Laughter?
But she mastered the Midwestern Milwaukee accent, by the way. She deserves special props for that. So she's great. My guilty pleasure of the year, another great, could be a great plane watch. I was very excited to see this.
What is this?
Again, another based on true story film, sort of a truth is stranger than fiction tale. And I'm talking about Roofman.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Bruce Springsteen movie.
Oh, God, no. I did see the Bruce Springsteen movie, though.
I totally thought you were going to bring that up.
Okay, 2 seconds on Roofman, and I'll give you 2 seconds on the Bruce Springsteen movie. Roofman was a great plane hotel film in a way. Channing Tatum. It's a true story, basically about a guy who escapes prison after robbing 40 McDonald's locations. This is a true story, and he escapes prison, and he's providing for his family when he was robbing the McDonald's, and when he escapes, he basically lives in the walls of a Toys R Us. And this really happened, and the guy lived there for months, eating off the M&Ms and then sneaking out at night and having relationships with people and like trying to reassimilate, high risk, sort of like looking for trouble in a way. And of course, things don't wind up his way, but it's it just was a really satisfying, based on a true story, sort of schmaltzy,
like not amazing filmmaking.
No,
just like interesting story.
Yeah,
watch it on the couch.
Totally.
I mean, we were in a hotel room on vacation.
Oh, we were in Mexico when we watched.
And we
Roofman.
got like room service.
Room service.
Roofman.
Such a good room service movie, guys.
Yeah, great room service.
Roofman, room service. Do it. Okay. The Bruce Springsteen movie.
Oh.
I saw this, Marcus.
Right. I remember we talked about it because I was upset.
I was in Austin, Texas. I had nothing to do. No one to call. Right. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I guess I'll go to the movies. What's playing? Oh, the Bruce Springsteen movie. And I don't have any relationship to Bruce. I have no history of listening to Bruce Springsteen. I just like I like watching bad, it's kind of a guilty pleasure thing. Bad music biopics with really, like especially when they condense everything that's happened in someone's career into one scene.
I hate those.
I love that. That's like my favorite thing to hate watch. So I was just expecting kind of a hate watch, to go and watch it and have fun. And, it wasn't really like that bad. And it was interesting that it's centered around the making of Nebraska, the album, that they just, of course, are doing that thing that's just taking a little piece out of the person's career, not their whole sweeping story. But I just have to say, the one thing, this is the most shocking scene in terms of a movie of 2025. In this movie, you literally see, what's his name? The guy that fucking Jeremy
Allen White?
White Jeremy. He is, there's a scene literally where he is pedal to the metal, fucking going 200 miles an hour in his car, down the streets in Jersey, blasting Suicide's Frankie Teardrop.
Oh, right.
Which, just in a vacuum is an amazing thing to see on the big screen, Frankie fucking Teardrop by Suicide blasting in a movie theater. I'm the only person in it, by the way, when I'm seeing it. And then it cuts to Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen laying on the floor of his apartment or house, staring at the ceiling, continuing to listen to Suicide, Frankie Teardrop. And that Paul Walter Hauser guy, the guy who is like the only character actor in all of Hollywood, who is in every single movie now as the only, chubby guy. The only chubby guy they allow in a movie now is him.
There's only like two.
He's like two chubby guys. He's like one of the two. And he comes in and he's like, what are you listening to? This is crazy. And Jeremy Allen White's like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah. That was annoying me when you called me and told me you saw it. And I was like, and you were like, I'm not a Bruce Springsteen fan. And I immediately launched into my favorite story. I'm like, about Bruce Springsteen, where it's like I didn't used to like him,
but then
a long time ago, I found out that his favorite band was Suicide.
That's so cool.
And I started, and I did the whole spiel talking about how he covers Dream Baby Dream and all this stuff.
That's right. That's right.
And Martin Rev, and I did all these shows with Martin Rev, and like he knew, about the Springsteen thing. We talked about it, whatever. So I did the whole thing to Evan. Then he's like, "Well, you're gonna be really mad because this whole movie is centered around that anecdote that you just told me."
Oh my God.
Well, that's the coolest part. I mean, it's just
I can't stand that when like a cool anecdote becomes just like glued to the film.
Yeah, but I mean,
it gives him some street cred though.
That's what I'm saying. It gives Springsteen major street cred, but it also, to me, it's like, okay, like if I'm a Zoomer, Generation Alpha watching this movie someday, which is never going to happen because it's Bruce Springsteen movie. But if they are, they're going to be like, what the fuck is that? And it's
what the fuck is any of this?
But no, well, yes, yes. But it's a nice commercial for Suicide, and I'm happy for that. So it doesn't get forgotten. But it is cool to just hear it pumping in the theater. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that was like getting me into the theater for Marty and for One Battle. Hearing Steely Dan in the theater,
Steely
really
Dan
loud.
was great.
And those like movie mixes and those movie
great.
sound systems are so good.
Yeah.
And the same with like all the 80s stuff, which I thought, I was like, God, we're still doing the 80s in Marty. It's like the 80s was never going to die.
The Tears for Fears.
We're going for like 30 years now. It's been the cool thing. But
what you want?
Yeah, hearing all that stuff. New Order, like the theater, coming off.
It was cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
The Last Dance too. I was going to say that like
it's very Last Dance.
Chalamet was watching that over
yeah.
and over again, supposedly, and
for sure.
very much had that Last Dance with that score and stuff. I want to shout out one last movie.
That's what I wanted to set you up for.
Oh, okay.
Urchin.
What is Urchin?
Harris Dickinson.
Okay, yeah.
The hot British guy from Baby Girl.
Yep.
That all the women love.
Baby Girl is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, it was. And Harris Dickinson is one of those like guys, the Rat Boy Summer guys and all that stuff. So hot dude. But he directed this movie, British movie, kind of in the tradition of like Mike Leigh, Ken Loach kind of character-driven British set film about a young guy like in his 20s in London who's struggling with substance abuse and homelessness. And I just thought the lead performance was really fucking good.
Okay.
And for a debut feature film, directorial debut, I thought Harris Dickinson did a really good job. And yeah, it was a little film. Not many people saw it, and it didn't get a lot of love for like awards or anything. So
that's good to shout it
out.
But
I would check it out, especially if you're interested in seeing like a really great, genuine performance.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I watched it on your recommendation.
What do you think, Marcus?
I hated it.
I thought,
I
hated it. No, I thought like, oh, this is a good movie, but it's one of those movies that you'll think like, oh, that was good, but then like 5 years from now, you won't even remember what it's called. Like,
There's a lot of those.
Like The Tribe was like that. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but at the time I was like, this is
Rémy
amazing.
passed out.
I passed out in the theater when I saw it.
Now I'm not thinking about it, but anyway, I thought it was decent, and it was nice to see modern dance in a movie.
I just was like taken by that guy, by the performance. I was weird. It stuck with me.
The Mike Leigh thing makes kind of sense to me. I was thinking like, does this guy just like Safdie brothers movies and like Gaspar Noé and stuff, but maybe they're not. It wasn't as intense as that.
Yeah, there was a little Gaspar Noé, but I think it was more of a Ken Loach, Mike Leigh.
Yeah.
Like kind of super character driven texture of like, London and kind of I don't know. Yeah, I just was like, who the fuck is this actor? It was just really great.
All right, so Urchin, Rémy, do you want to leave us with a stinker or one of your?
I don't know. The movie that I hated the most, that is, I think, the most overrated movie of like the past 20 years is
wow.
Sorry, Baby.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Baby.
By Eva Victor.
Okay, so you made me watch some of this.
I saw it in the theater, and my sister and I were like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was like one of those where I was like in shock. Like we were like head in hands, like, no! Like there was something about the tone of it I just hated. Like, and I know
it's a black comedy, right?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like funny, but like I hated the humor. Yeah. It was like and I feel bad because it's supposed to. I mean, I guess it's a true story about sexual.
Right.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, baby.
I'm sorry that happened, but
yeah.
You know, I thought it felt really like inauthentic and forced and like trying to be this like awkward,
quirky,
neurodivergent like character with awkward humor, kind of like black humor, and it didn't land for me. It seemed really poorly made, and like that felt really forced, and it felt like trying to be something and not working. But people loved it. People loved it.
Yeah, people loved it.
I'm the minority.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, hate me, but like every review is like, this is profound,
that was
darkly funny.
That's what really surprised me. Like when I saw a few scenes and I was like, holy shit. And then just understanding that this was like nominated for things, and because it looks like kind of like I don't know, it just looks like a very first time indie film, rough around the edges.
Not in a cool way.
But not in a cool way. Like just
not in like a cool DIY way. In more of like a weird vanity project, or like your dad's dentist gave you money to make a movie. It does feel
like a vanity project.
And you're trying to make like You Can Count on Me, but it's like not as good. And so it felt like it just, I don't know, it felt like try hard.
It was just like, nails on a chalkboard for me. And so I don't know.
And like there's parts where she's like talking to her friend's belly, and because her friend is like pregnant, and she's like, hi, baby. I'm your mommy. And then she's like, it's like quirky. And it made Tiny Furniture look like Citizen.
Like, I've never seen a soft penis before.
Yeah, there was like the penis talk. It was. I'm like,
look at your soft penis.
And it was like when men do this thing with a penis, I'm like, is this even like? It was like it's
sort of like bad improv.
It made me think of honestly like Tiny Furniture, a movie where now I look back and I'm like, that was actually pretty fucking good. Like
you're nostalgic for Tiny Furniture now.
Yeah, like where at the time I probably didn't really love that movie, but like now I'm like, no, that actually was an interesting indie where the women were having something interesting to say, and that humor was landing. This felt like, I think she even said she loved Juno. Like Juno was something that influenced her, and I was like, ooh,
wow, that's crazy. I was just surprised. I was just surprised when you told me that it's critically lauded, because it just seems like a movie I would have just like sat down at Sundance and been there, and then like 15 minutes in, I would have been like, nope, I'm out of here.
No one ever heard from
I know. Never, ever repeated again. Yeah.
This felt like, to me, like
never deleted from the world.
This felt like Hamptons Film Festival.
Yes.
Newport, Memphis, New Orleans. It didn't feel even like Sunday. It really felt like regional film festival level.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be like
You're
quirky,
cooking.
and I'm sorry.
Damn.
I was
preach.
Me and my sister left, and we were like screaming. We were like, if people think that's like cool and smart and like funny and dark, I'm like,
wow. All right, so skip that one.
But people loved it. And Jesse Eisenberg said it was like his favorite film of the year. Sorry, baby. It's on, I guess, HBO Max, Amazon. I don't know.
All right. Jesse Eisenberg likes it, then I like it. All right. Okay, we're out of here.
I hope people don't hate me for that, but I just...
we'll find out. They hated me over Shawshank Redemption, so... All right, let's wrap this up. That's about 2 fucking hours on the year...
It's a New Year's special.
2025. There it is.
Still shorter than watching any of the movies that came out this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for joining us here. I hope you enjoyed the 2025 roundup. Interesting year. I'm sure we could have, talked about a few more, but I mean, definitely, talking about 4 movies as like must-sees is, I don't know.
It's nuts.
That's nuts in modern times,
And there's other stuff too I haven't seen. I'm still really wanting to see.
Sure.
Like stuff, The Mastermind I wanted to like more, but
sure.
that didn't make my list, but
it wasn't as good as The Maestro. But we're doing that Maestro thing. All right,
yeah, we should definitely.
Really quick, so we can get out of here and wrap this up. I just want to give everybody a quick shout out to what we're going to be doing for the 1 fucking year project. Here it is. All right, so for the rest of 2026. We're coming up on a milestone, guys. Next week is our 150th episode of the show. Wow. Sorry, guys. Deserves another one of those. So really crazy that we've done 150 hours of this show, not to mention all the bonus stuff up on Patreon. Right. But we did this little gimmick several years ago when we hit episode 67. We did this thing where like, okay, we're going to cover a movie from 1967. Mm-hmm. And we did that, into episode 68 with 1968 and episode 69 into 1969. And we ran that all the way till about 84, and then that's kind of our gulch of movies that we normally talk about here on the show is from 67 to 84. So I just got this kind of wild hair idea because I like the framework of that. And it also could be a very interesting, take a journey with us for one fucking year. Okay. So strap in for one fucking year. What we're going to do is starting with episode 150, we're going to do a movie from 1950. Okay. Holy shit. Because I don't think we've done one movie from the 50s. I could be wrong. We've done obviously the 30s when we did the 30s series. And, we've done 60s and stuff like that, but we haven't really dove into the fucking 50s. So we're going to go episode 150 next week or whenever we drop it, a movie from 1950. Then we're going to go, we're going to do 1951, 2, 3. For the rest of the year, we're going all the way up to the 2000s, maybe beyond. So it's going to be kind of a journey through the evolution of movies, one film, 1 year at a time. So one fucking year. I think along the way, we might do some polls. We'll definitely do some bonus episodes. So we're not just like, oh my God, we've been in the 50s and 60s forever, but I think it's going to be fun because we're going to pick the most interesting movie from every year and we're going to deep dive on it. There's so many great filmmakers and foreign films from other countries we haven't even touched. Yeah. So definitely I'm excited about that. We're going to hit some stuff that we haven't hit at all yet on the show. And so hopefully you all like it. We're sort of debating right now between, what the first movie is. So definitely stay tuned on our Instagram at One Fucking Hour, and we will tell you exactly what that film's going to be for 1950. But please sound off in the comments. Hit us with DMs. Of course, chat us on Patreon just about what you want to see us cover in this series. When we when we're in the 50s, when we're in the 60s, when we're in the 70s, tell us what you want to hear because we're definitely going to take that under consideration. And we're going to try and hit a wide breadth of different movies from, all over the world. So I'm really excited about this because it's going to be kind of like, I don't know, it's going to feel more like a book club again, which I'm really excited about. So, take this ride with us from 1950 to the 2000s. We're going to go one film for each year, starting with episode 150, next week. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully you guys will dig that. And I'm excited for that. So definitely lots of things I want to do. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks so much. That's going to be one fucking year. And what a better way to do that than leaving the 2025 and going back 75 years to movies. So, all right, everybody, take care. And we'll see you next week for whatever our 1950 pick is. And we'll see you there. All right, everybody. Take care for now. Have a good rest of your week. So long.
Bye.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.